May the fourth be with you. I'm not a Star Wars guy, but I screwed that one up one time. I said, "May the first be with you," and my family won't let me down now. They won't let me live it down. That's for sure. So anyway, taking a walk today, checking some of the things I've done for Habitat Life on the property. I did some hinge cutting, and I've planted some shoots of red osier dogwoods, and I've planted some shoots of mulberry, and I've got paths cut through the grass. It's amazing how much travel this 6 or so acres that I hunt absorbs. It's like I don't know, it's a main hub, I guess. So let me show you some of the things that I'm seeing, and maybe you'll understand. So these are some trees that I hinge cut on the back corner. This would be the northwest corner of the field, and I always tend to see a few beds here, being that this is the west field tree line. It's a pretty good windbreak, and so these are, I don't know, larger trees than I wish to hinge cut, and I might take those ones down as well and lay them right over top. But it's really cool to see the greens still popping. I'm still thinking I'm going to hinge cut some of those northern tree lines as well and lay that down, so that way all the deer have a really good bedding area. This, I don't know, 2 or 3 acres I planted a while back of switchgrass, hoping that this would become a big bedding area, and it never really took off. They did use it as bedding, but it's still not a whole lot better than what grew naturally. It's quite exciting here and there to see little trees actually starting to sprout. There's a whole bunch of them all over the place. In this area, I always throw walnuts, I throw chestnuts, I throw maple seeds, and I throw pretty much any tree seeds that I can find. Osage orange. And 5 years ago this was all field and farmed. There's more trees growing. So someday this is going to be a little forest, and I'm really going to be happy about that. I've got quite a bit of activity in these little trails that I mow, and we're going to go check the red osier dogwoods, and then I'll show you a lot of activity. We got a little bit of green showing, a little starting to sprout. And remember, there were 5 sprouts in each one of these cages. I see 4 now, so something's been ripping that one out. I did stand a few of these cages back up today. This one's got a little top starting, and I think there's one on the left there, just starting mid-shoot. It's pretty cool to see something happening. A little bit more green starting to pop. And it seems like as we walk closer to my stand, I'm seeing more and more sign of just deer trampling these trails. The ground's been pretty wet lately, but I plan on doing some strip food plots, long and skinny. And there's one. From this intersection, we're about 100, maybe 120 yards from my favorite tree. And I've poked deer from here before, so having a long perpendicular plot right here won't be so terrible. There's some more greens popping out here, and that's exciting to see. Here's a pretty good cage. There's quite a bit of green going on, and quite a few different shoots. Last red osier dogwood cage, and now I'm probably, I don't know, 75 yards from my tree. And here's going to be another strip plot once the ground dries out. They're just pounding these trails. It makes me pretty happy. Pretty excited indeed. This is a main intersection from a couple different trails. It looks like there's been quite a bit of activity in the past few days. And here, about a quarter way to that rock pile tree, you can see another strip that I've cut. That's going to be the longest food plot. And I intend to have my kids gun hunt from that rock pile this year. So I want to have them have opportunity for a lot of broadside shots. I think I need to invent a tire tread that looks like deer tracks so I can screw with my friends. You can see that back corner is where we started, where the hinge cut trees are. This is going to be my strip plot from my tree. And I don't know if I'll be hunting the tree a lot this year or not, but my goal is to take a deer with a bow. I've never done that before. I've shot a 4-point one time with a compound bow at our old house, and I spined it basically. I basically went right through the back straps and never found it. We did a lot of tracking. We did a lot of tracking, but we never found them. Well, I just missed a whole bunch of good footage, but I just kicked up a turkey and it ended up flying over those green treetops. And it was just a hen, or a girl, whatever you call girl turkeys. But it was really cool to see wildlife coming to the property. As much as I really just prefer deer and rabbit for hunting, that doesn't mean that I don't want other turkeys or other wildlife to come here and make this home. Someday, I'd like to extend the tillable acreage into this type of a habitat, and I'd like to plant more trees. I'd like to increase the wetlands, increase the grasslands, increase the wildlife numbers as a whole. And you know, not just for my own sake, but just for nature. I feel like this area of my town has less population of deer and more ag than other parts of town. There's a river that goes through town, and on the other side, seems like wildlife is just more abundant. And for what I can do, I'd like to change that. So now we're walking very close to another trail that I've mowed, and it's time to check some of my mulberry cuttings. I don't see a whole lot there. I do see a deer track right next to it. We got more to check though. Now most of these are all cuttings that I took, and I just dug a trench and laid the whole cutting into the trench. And the idea is that the majority of the stick will become the root system. So far I don't see anything but deer tracks. Nothing, nothing, nothing. This last one here, I just stuck a whole bunch of cuttings in the ground just like I did the red osier dogwoods. And whether I just did it wrong or this wasn't a healthy plant to begin with, or maybe it's just not time, I don't see any results from the mulberries. Tell you what, if those tracks don't get you excited for hunting deers, really can't tell you what will. Now I could get a spotting scope, but I'm gonna guess that we're a good 60 yards from that tree. And I got some repairs to do. I was thinking a while back when we had these hailstorms and big massive storms that wind hurt my tree. And we were driving along the other day and I'm seeing bark all over the place. I found pieces of my ladder probably 50 yards out. And you can maybe see above my stand, there's a whole bunch of bark missing. There's more of it. And look at what's left of my ladder. This was attached to the tree with railroad spikes. And these are the majority of the pieces that we have found. Look at that. You can see the spikes still sticking out. They're probably a good 4 more inches into the tree, maybe more. Look at that. Come on, focus. Yeah, look at that. That went flying. I do not think that was wind. I think that was lightning. I'm pretty sure that my tree is going to be on fire for hunting this year. That's just what I think. I got a little work to do to get there, because I definitely can't climb that. Once again, more trees beginning to drop. My guess is the birds up there poop and they drop seed of whatever they ate. That's my guess. Maybe some of these are sucker roots popping back up from some of these trees, but I don't know. We got one more trail to walk down into my little woods, and I'll show you some of the work I've been doing in there. So it seems like there's a lot of activity coming through this trail. This area is very close to the house right there. This used to be a dirt bike track, and when they widened the road, the dirt bike track got plowed over, and all of the trees from about a half a mile of road frontage got piled up in here. And now we have all of these little saplings. Pretty sure most of this is box elder, which is great forage. And I started dropping and dropping. You can see the house back there, kind of. My idea was trying to create a screen that these deer could roam a little freer and not necessarily see what's going on at the house. And I won't be able to see them either. Kind of thinking maybe that big tree on the left might be a nice bow stand for afternoon hunts. See what kind of travel's coming through here, and then out to the road. But there's a lot of big trees left in here. There's a lot of piles of brush here and there, and there's a little bit more hinge cuts. And then I kind of let it be, because the rest of the wood in here is very skinny. And but it's good to see. It's good to see some of these cuts that I've made, and the greens growing on the trees don't seem to care. Now that some of this canopy is knocked down, the chickens have been in here doing a lot of scratching, looking for bugs under all these leaves. And I was actually going to do a burn, a controlled burn in here. But honestly, I'm thinking that the help of the chickens might just make this okay. I don't want to do too much at one time. I've got the food plots going on, I've got the hinge cuts going on, I've got more trees going on, and I'm hoping to have more deer going on, more hunting to do. We'll see how that goes. All in all, I want to bring hunting here. I'd love to go out and do some state land bow hunting, but I want to make this successful all the time. And last year I spent pretty good money, hard-earned money, to go out to Missouri and hunt with Mark Pierce. And that was awesome. I loved it. Shot my deer, paid my fine. It was 24 inches under the minimum. Oops. It was the biggest deer I've ever seen, and I'm still proud of it. Shot some doe. Got a lot of meat in the freezer. And learned things. I learned a lot in that week. And I learned that I don't really want to spend all that money to go hunt deer when I could do little improvements to have a continuous successful hunt here. So that's my plan. I've been pretty gung-ho about it all winter, and I need to get out and start shooting my bow more, that's for sure. But yeah, I really appreciate you watching if you're still hanging in there, and please feel free to subscribe and follow along on this journey as the property just continues to be improved. Take care, and may the 4th be with you. I forgot one more thing, and it's a pretty exciting one. Last August, I dug a big old hole not far from my hunting tree, and I buried a big water tank for livestock, horses or cows or whatever. And the deer kind of hit it now and again, and it's been quite rainy. There's no reason it should be low, but it is. Let me show you this. This is my watering hole area, and that's my tree. I was so excited about my broken tree that I stepped right over this. Now, I need to get more dirt in there, but you can see a lot of hoof prints all over the edges. And that water is down. That water's down a good 6 inches. I mean, it's been raining up until yesterday. It's been wet. There's no reason that shouldn't be full other than a lot of activity. So I'm probably going to end up scooping that out with some buckets one of these days, refilling it with some good clean stuff, and maybe I'll have to get some cameras on. This is the dirt that came out of that hole, and look at all the deer activity on that even. They're just tearing it up, and it makes me happy. One more last thing after my one more last thing. In January or so, I took those red osier dogwood cuttings and I brought just as many inside as I planted out in the field, as I planted in sand, as I planted in potting soil. My water cuttings just took a dive bomb. I don't know if I did it too early, but pretty much every single one of those cuttings is hopeless. There were a lot of good things. There were a lot of good roots growing, and they just didn't make it. I kept my water as clean as I could. There were some that turned green. I got to a point where I was changing it more than once a week, but it just wasn't working out. So here's some of my dirt cuttings that just stayed outside all winter, or the rest of winter, since January or so. Check these out. I believe all of my white pots for the red osier dogwoods were the unharmed cuttings. I'll have to look back and check, but that was just cuttings that I just cut off, stuck them in the dirt. Here's some pine trees that I did the same to. Here's some other ones that didn't make it. This is a harmed trimming of the red osier dogwoods in potting soil, and they're doing just great. Here's some more success and fail stories. And here is one of my last pots of the red osier dogwoods. Dark pot, I believe I harmed these ones and put them in the sand, and they're doing just dandy too. And last but not least, my unharmed sand cuttings, and they're doing pretty okay too. I have not watered these since I planted them. I've only relied on rain and snow to keep moisture on those roots, and that's that. I'm pretty sure that he's telling me that we're gonna have some success, and we're gonna be eating more deer, more rabbits this winter.